which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This thank you movement is the prime benediction to humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Lord Kṛṣṇa. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Then the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking myself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your costless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death, and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all the hatred in the world in your absence. I know but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Hare Krishna. Gauranga. Who knows, who's in charge of the sound system? Who's in charge of you? Is there any way to turn off 2 speakers and leave 2 speakers on? Because all this feedback is because you have all the, and you have those speakers, it's not, you don't need 4 speakers here. Krishna, you have officially messed it up by putting 4 speakers there. I guarantee you. You can pull the wires out or something, it'll sound much better. Overkill. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. Acharya Astatara, Srimad His Divine Grace, O Bhai Charanaravinda, Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa, Paribrajaka Acharya Astatara, Srimad His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, ISKCON BVT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vashri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopakopinath Shyama Kunadha Kundikiri Gopinan Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mayapur Navaditam Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Sholveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Thai Go Premanand. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Krishna Badaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Vachanam Sati Dasatharine Hare Krishna So we're reading from the first canto, 10th chapter, entitled Krishna's departure of Lord Kṛṣṇa to Dvārakā from Hastinapur, which is now known as Delhi. Hasti means elephant. Hastinapur meant the place of many elephants. People used elephants to get around. Prabhupada said now we can call it Karpura. Now there are many cars and no elephants. Hastinapur became Karpura. Actually, it became Narakapura, hellish, one of the more hellish places in the world. And yesterday we did text 32. Today we'll do text 33, 34, and 35. And text 33 is on the board. Ata Dvāragatan Shorihi Kuravan Virahaturan Sanivartya Vridham Snigdhan Prayat Swanagarim Priyai Atha Dvāragatam Shori Kauravan Virahaturan Sanidvartya Dridham Snigdha Prayat Swanagarim Priyai Atha Dvāragatan Shori Kauravan Virahaturan Sanidvartya Dridham Snigdhan Prayat Swanagarim Priyai. Ladies? Sanivata Dridham Snigdhan Prayat Swanagarim Priya Dvāragatam Shori Kauravan Virahaturan Sanivata Dridham Snigdhan Prayat Swanagarim Priyai. Word meanings? Ata, thus, Dvāragatan, having accompanied him for a long distance. Shori, Lord Kṛṣṇa, Kauravan, the Pāṇḍavas, Virahaturan, overwhelmed by a sense of separation. Sanivartya, politely persuaded, dridham, determined, snigdhan, full of affection, prayat, proceeded, sunagarim, towards his own city, Dvārakā, priyai, with dear companions, out of profound affection for Lord Kṛṣṇa. The Pāṇḍavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards Dvārakā with his dear companions. So there's no purport, so let's read the next verse. No, actually, there are two verses, 34 and 35. Without my reading glasses, I might not be able to properly chant the Sanskrit. Let's try. Kuru jangala panchalan surasenan shayamunan brahmavartyam kurukshetram matsyan sarasvatan atha marudhanam atikramya suvira Bhirayoparan anarthan bhargavo bhaskach chantovaho managbivu. Translation. O Shonaka, the Lord then proceeded towards Kuru Jangala, Panchala, Surasena, the land on the bank of the river Yamuna, Brahmavarta, Kurukshetra, Matsya, Sarasvata, the province of the desert and the land of scanty water. After crossing these provinces, he gradually reached Suvira and Abhira provinces. Then, west of these, reached Dvārakā at last. Purport. The provinces passed over by the Lord in those days were differently named, but the direction given is sufficient to indicate that he traveled through Delhi, Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Saurashtra, and Gujarat, and at last reached his home in the province at Dvārakā. We do not gain any profit simply by researching the analogous provinces of those days up to now, but it appears that the desert of Rajasthan and the provinces of scanty water like Madhya Pradesh were present even 5,000 years ago. The theory of soil experts that the desert developed in recent years is not supported by the statements of Bhagavatam. We may leave the matter for expert geologists to research, because the changing universe has different phases of geological development. We are satisfied that the Lord has now reached his own province, Dvārakā Dham, from the Kuru provinces. Kurukshetra continues to exist since the Vedic age, and it is sheer foolishness when interpreters ignore or deny the existence of Kurukshetra. So I think the most interesting thing in this purport is that Prabhupada's talking about various theories or speculations about the earth, and in regards to the verse, or the past verse, where Krishna is traveling from Hastinapur to Dvārakā, and Prabhupada concludes, as devotees, we're not that concerned about geology, but we're concerned about Krishna. And so, whatever the soil is or isn't, or however the earth has changed or hasn't, we're happy to know and hear that Krishna is going to Dvārakā. That's our interest. Hare Krishna. So, as you probably know, the material world is variegated, and there's so much going on, and there's so much to think about, and so much you can absorb your mind in, other than Krishna. There's unlimited things to absorb our minds in. So we get that indication. I mean, Prabhupada's not saying it exactly, but we get that understanding from this purport that Prabhupada's saying, you could speculate on so many things, you could study so many things, but for a devotee, the real interest a devotee has is if it's in relation to Krishna. If it's not of interest to him. For non-devotee, there are many things of interest. But for a devotee, his only interest is if it's in relation to Krishna. Just like in Bhagavatam, there are lists of many dynasties, of some chapters, are just shloka after shloka, verse after verse of the dynasty. This king married this woman and gave birth to these children. This son married this woman, gave birth to this children. And it lists all the names. And you might wonder why, what's the value? Because these were all in dynasties coming or in relation to Krishna. So then they're of value or of interest to the devotee. But we're not interested in dynasties for the sake of history, understanding history, unless there's some relationship with Krishna. So everything in the Bhagavatam, it is said, is in relation to Krishna. It's meant to awaken Krishna consciousness. Even things that don't seem like they're directly in relation with Krishna, but they are, because they have some connection to our bhakti. So that's the idea. So it is also, we are also told these pastimes are eternal. So as we're reading them, we're not reading history. It's happening now somewhere. So what we just read is going, Krishna is now somewhere in some planet, in some universe, on his way to Dvārakā from Hastinapur. So it's not history maybe for this planet, but somewhere else it's going on right now. And because his pastimes are eternal, even when you think about them, you can say you're thinking in real time, because it's going on in your mind in real time. And if it goes on in your mind in real time, it's not different from the actual fact of the pastime. So when you think of Krishna, and you think of the Leela, it's happening. Hare Krishna. Okay, so the verse before, very important. Verse before was about separation. It's said in verse 33, the Pāṇḍavas were following Krishna out of Hastinapur. Why were they following him? Well, if you were the Pāṇḍavas and Krishna was leaving Hastinapur, wouldn't you follow him? Yeah. You want to see him go? Of course not. So they don't want to see him go, so they're following him. Just like every morning, when Krishna reached a certain age, he was given charge of cows. Who knows how many cows Krishna was taking care of? What? Nanda Maharaj had 900,000. Did Krishna take care of all of them? All right, 900,000 sounds impressive. I don't know if that's the total number that Krishna took care of or the total number that Nanda Maharaj had. Who knows? You have any authoritative information? Okay. He took care of a lot of cows, we'll say that. And he would go out in the morning, and Mother Jashoda had a really hard time when he was leaving. And she couldn't bear it. She could not bear that Krishna was leaving. It was so painful. And so painful for all the gopis. So, when someone's at the airport and they're going off, and you love them, it's painful, right? So Krishna was going off every day, and there was this intense pain every day that he's going off. And he'd tell the gopis, Radha Kund at noon we'll meet. And so they could look forward to that. Only, in a few hours we could meet him at Radha Kund. So it's very, very painful. Because when the love is strong, the pain is greater in separation. If you don't love somebody and they go, it's kind of a relief. isn't it? Thank God, you have a guest, they're driving you crazy. Thank God they're leaving today, But if you have a guest that you love, when they leave, it's very difficult, isn't it? So if it's difficult here, it's unimaginably difficult with Krishna, because the intensity of love is millions of times greater. Millions of times. It's said that Mother Yasoda's love for Krishna is so great that if you took the happiness, if you took the love of this world, multiplied it 1,000,000 times, it might equal a drop of her love, which is a poetic way of saying we can't imagine the depth of that love, the intensity of that love. We have no experience. But that example is given to give some idea. So, if love is 1,000,000 times greater, then that's only a drop of their love. 1,000,000 times greater than our love, and that's only a drop. Could you imagine what it was like for Yasoda every day when Krishna went out to herd the cows? No. She couldn't let him go. He would go and say, "Oh, Krishna, be careful, there's rocks on the ground, you're barefoot." "Yes, Mom, yes, Mata, I'm okay." Then he'd walk, and then she'd run back, "Oh, Krishna, you have enough to eat?" "Yes, Ma'am." And then he would take another step, "Oh, Krishna, is your dhoti tied?" Like, she couldn't let him go. It was so intense. It's said that when Krishna came back to Vrindavan, that Radharani was lying on the ground, like completely emaciated, in separation from Krishna. It was like so intense. But what's so interesting about this is that you can't see it materially. Because if you see it materially, it looks like pain. And it's not pain. And there are many reasons or ways to understand how it's not pain. But I think one of the best ways is Mahaprabhu came, he descended to experience this separation. So if this separation were pain, why would he come down to experience pain? It's not pain. It looks like pain, but it is the highest sweetness, the highest love. Now, you might say that this is a very high topic, and I'm just worried about more practical things. So how is this at all relevant? Well, I think one way it's relevant is we do experience separation in this world. Yesterday I didn't get enough pakoras, so I was meditating on pakoras all night, and I was crying that I didn't get enough. So I was feeling separation from pakoras, right? Or my son said he would come back at 10, and he didn't come back till 11. So and he didn't call. So between 10 and 11, I was experiencing separation from my son. That ever happened to you? When your kid or your wife or your husband says, "I'll be back at 8, and it's 11 o'clock at night and they haven't come back. And you're calling them and they're not answering their phone. Because they're with their friends doing something, they lost track of time. They can't hear their phone because it's a big kirtan. And they come home, "Why didn't you call?" "Oh, it's 11? Oh, I forgot. I didn't realize it." And you're in anxiety. What happened to them? Did a monster eat them? Did they get arrested? What happened? Did they get in an accident? So separation, we're experiencing separation here, right? But the separation from Krishna is liberating us. The separation we're feeling here is basically attaching us. So when we think about separation and we're frank and honest, we realize that in material consciousness we are feeling separation from what? From sense gratification. "Oh, I didn't get enough pakoras today, I'm feeling separation." Isn't it? All right, I went to the store to buy something, it was on sale, half price, and I got there too late. They were selling iPhones, iPhone 10 Super X expanded, for half price, and I got there and the person in line before me bought the last one. Now I'm feeling separation from life. Or if you lose, like last night we drove off without my phone. I said, "Where's my phone?" "Oh no." Phone separation. That ever happened to you? You can't find your phone? Phone separation. Oh no, I just bought this phone, I can't find it. So we're experiencing separation, but in the material world, it is said that everything is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So we are feeling separation, but we're feeling separation from sense gratification. In the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, there is no sense gratification. The gopis, the brajbasis, the sakas, the friends of Krishna, the servants of Krishna, there is not one drop of desire to enjoy in their body, in their heart, in their mind, in their senses, anywhere. So you read Bhagavatam and it says the gopis wanted to kiss Krishna. And that sounds like sense gratification, doesn't it? Oh Krishna, we want to embrace you, we want to kiss you. Because in our world, if we want to do that, it's for our pleasure. Do you kiss someone for their pleasure? Or do you kiss someone for you? Do you hug someone? Generally you do it because it gives you pleasure, right? Yes? Yeah. Admit it. Just admit it. If you don't admit it, it breaks up the sequence of the thought process here. Yeah. So then the gopis do that, but there's no desire for sense gratification at all. Zero. They only do that because they know it'll please Krishna. The residents of Vrindavan only do things that will please Krishna because they have so much love. There is no desire to enjoy themselves when love is just like a mother has so much love for a child, especially when the child is young and helpless. The mother makes so much sacrifice. The mother doesn't even have time to think about herself, right? When a child is young, there's no thought. It's just the child. That's it, right? That's all. When the child is a little older, the child goes to school. Finally, that day the child goes to school. The mother doesn't know what to do. She hasn't even thought about herself for 5 years. And then the kid's in school is like, oh my God, I can actually relax and think about myself. So imagine the love of the residents of Vrindavan. It's millions of times greater. There are no thought about themselves. So, we all know the sad story of Krishna leaving Vrindavan. Yes? It's a very sad story, very heartbreaking story. This story is described in Bhagavatam, but it's described in other books, and maybe in different ways, or there are details in other books of what was going on in the mind and heart of the Brajvasis. Very, very intense. And you might think, Krishna seems to be heartless. That these gopis are throwing themselves in front of the chariot. They're begging, they're pleading, don't leave, don't leave. They're sitting there stunned, they can't believe it. Yashoda can't believe it. She's going just fainting. And you think, how could Krishna do this? This is so cruel. Have you ever thought like that? Why is Krishna doing that? To increase the love of the residents of Braja. The only business that Krishna has is to increase the love of his devotees. That's it. That's his business. When he interacts with the devotees, there's only one thing he's doing, increasing the love and affection. That's all he wants from his devotees. That's what he relishes. Yeah. So imagine you have ice cream. And I say, you want some chocolate syrup? Okay. You want some whipped cream? Okay. You want some cherries? Okay. You want some chopped nuts? Okay. You want some this and that? Yeah. So that might be an example of what we call rasa. Make it sweeter and tastier. So Krishna is always pouring chocolate syrup on the ice cream relationship with his devotees, and pouring cherries and walnuts and whatever they throw on ice cream these days. That's what he's doing. So anytime you see Krishna doing something that appears to be You think in your mind, how could Krishna do that? That seems cruel. It's just chocolate syrup on the ice cream. We may not understand it, but that's what it is. And so, when Krishna left Vrindavan, the intensity of that separation increased their love. That's why he did it. And it increased his love also. So not only does Krishna, in relation with his devotees, try to put chocolate syrup on the relationship from their perspective, but also from his perspective. And sometimes we hear stories that Krishna, in his sleep in Dvārakā, he's saying the name of Radha. Oh, Radha, Radha, Radha. He's missing Radha in his sleep. So Krishna is experiencing separation. And so what's so interesting is that Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came, and one of the reasons he came was to experience love and separation. Mahabhav, because it's so high. So now look at our pitiable position. We're feeling separation from pakoras. But Prabhu, it's prasadam. Isn't it transcendental? No, let's restate that. We're feeling separation from sense gratification. And the goal of Krishna consciousness is to feel separation from Krishna. Meditate on that for a while. And then you can start crying. What a situation we're in. We're supposed to feel separation from Krishna, and we're feeling separation from sense gratification. Oh, I lost my iPhone. Yes? Yeah. So, from separation from iPhone or pakoras to separation from Krishna, that's the process. That's the direction we're trying to go. Now, it's not as bad as it seems. Because by the grace of Krishna, we can get a little taste for Krishna consciousness, and we can get a little taste of separation. Just like I've been in Mayapur, just came back, or came from Mayapur, not back. Well, I came back here after 2 years. I came from Mayapur, so now I'm missing Mayapur. So I'm feeling some separation from Mayapur. Or some of you have gone there or to Vrindavan, and when you come back, you feel some separation. So you think about Vrindavan, you think about Mayapur, you think about what you did. That's good, right? So, or your spiritual master comes, then he goes, you feel some separation. That's good. Then you think of him more intensely. Or a devotee comes, you have a very affectionate relationship with, and then they go and you think of them more intensely. That's good. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be feeling separation. Because separation increases the meditation. Now that's not a very mature stage of separation, but it's something. So, every beautiful experience in Krishna consciousness that impresses us deeply in our heart, if we remember it fondly, there's some kind of feeling of separation, and that increases our meditation on Krishna. Just like I have a godbrother recently, well, not so recently, but in the summer, he left his body, and so we can think of that godbrother feeling separation and feeling love for him. That's wanted, because in the third canto, Lord Kapila Dev says that the same attachment that we have for things of this world, if we have for devotees, that liberates us. Mahatsevam Dvara Mahurvi Muktes. It said, if you serve the Mahatmas, it's not an advertisement, but for serving me, but it sounds like it is. No, it says the Mahatmas, not the Mahatma Dasas. If you serve the Mahatmas, then the doors of liberation are open. So if you become attached to the devotee, Kapila Dev says, if you become attached to the devotee, that attachment liberates you. If you become attached to things of this world, that attachment entangles you. So we finally remember a devotee, that devotee has departed. And sometimes we cry, we feel depressed, but it's not the same thing. And that purifies us. It uplifts us, doesn't it? So that's what Krishna consciousness is. We want to shift our attachment to Krishna and Krishna's devotees instead of sense gratification. Simple, right? Yes? Rath Yatra. You know Rath Yatra? You have Rath Yatra here?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what's going on in Rath Yatra? The mood of Rath Yatra? It's bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. Wow, it's very, very deep. When Mahaprabhu was at Rath Yatra, he was chanting a shloka that the gopis chanted at Kurukshetra. He was feeling intense separation. Do you feel separation in Rath Yatra? No. By about 2 o'clock, you feel separation. When's the chariot going to stop and they serve prasadam? That's our unfortunate condition. Mahaprabhu is chanting this verse that Radharani and the residents of Vrindavan chanted at Kurukshetra. They met Krishna at Kurukshetra and they said, this is the same night in autumn, you're the same Krishna, we're the same, I'm the same Radha. But this is not the place. You know, Kurukshetra was like, McDonald's. We have to go to the romantic restaurant. We can't meet at McDonald's. We have to go to. So Vrindavan is the romantic place, and Kurukshetra, that was the place where Krishna came as a king. So it's like, it's like your husband's a high court judge, and you go to see him in the court. You can't do anything. He's sitting on the bench. You can't have a conjugal relationship during court with your husband, right? So that's like Kurukshetra is like that. So the gopis are there, so Krishna is the king. That's not their Krishna. That's another form of Krishna. That was the Dvārakā Krishna. That's not their Krishna. So they say, come back to Vrindavan. That's our Krishna, Shyam Sundar. So you have, let's say you haven't seen your husband in 3 months, and he flies into the airport, and straight from the airport he goes to court, and the first time you see him is in court, and you can't even call him honey. You have to call him your honor, and you have to stand 10 feet away. And you haven't seen him in 3 months. Ooh, and you just got married 3 months ago. Ooh, drive you. It's not what Kurukshetra was like. Kurukshetra was 1,000,000 times more intense. But you get the idea, right? There's Krishna, but they can't touch him because he's not in the form of Shyamasundar. He's in the form of a king. Vasudeva, Narayan, Dwarkadish. So the intensity of separation was reaching new limits in Kurukshetra. The residents of Braja are there with Krishna, but they can't have him. That's a kind of separation. It's an interesting kind of separation. There are different kinds of separation. That's one kind of separation. When you're together, but you're separate. You're together, but you can't enjoy. So they were feeling, gopis, Brajbasis, feeling very, very intense feelings of separation. And so that prayer Radharani said, this is the autumn season. It's just when we had Ras Leela, and I'm the same Radha, you're the same Krishna. But you have to come back to Vrindavan. So that separation reached new heights, and that's what Mahaprabhu was singing during Rath Yatra. That was his meditation. Rath Yatra means we're taking Krishna back to Vrindavan. That's the mood. Have you ever been in that mood during Rath Yatra? Chanting that song, feeling separation. That's what it's all about. We're supposed to cultivate that. So why don't we feel that? Why don't we cultivate that? Well, you know the answer. Because we're meditating on pakoras and halva and feeling separation from them. And in anxiety over, will this girl marry me or not? And will I make another $100,000 this year? I lost money in investment, now I'm feeling separation from that. That's the problem. That's why we're not feeling separation from Krishna. Yes? And it's so unfortunate because unless we love Krishna, we're going to be miserable. That's just a reality. We'll never get the love we want because it's love of Krishna. We'll never get what the heart desires because it's with Krishna. So, we will stop here. If we go further, it will get too esoteric. So, I tried not to make it too esoteric, just to make it practical. So, anyone have any questions or comments? Yes?
It's not relevant, but may I still ask? It's from yesterday's class.
Okay, yesterday's class.
Like suppose, like you're talking about feeling separation, now air conditioning is not working and I'm just getting allergy, and while the class was going on, I was really trying to like focus, but it was an endeavor. I just want to ask, how can we actually get over this? How can we actually get over it and think and understand actually in like practicality that Krishna's names are much more blissful and high, can bring us so much more soothing. It might not be, this is just very temporary, and whereas Krishna's names are so beautiful.
Now how to get that? Only by perfecting our chanting. I was going to say, the answer to your question is, come to the japa workshop today. Yeah. But in a sense, that is the answer, because a lot of these how-to questions are basically the answers. Just continue doing what you're doing, but do it better. Continue your chanting, but improve it. Continue, reading Bhagavatam and whatever you're doing, but do it with a better quality, more devotion, more attention. If we can come to the stage of Shuddha Nam, chanting the name purely, then that will solve all the problems. But there's so many things getting in the way of chanting purely. So the easy answer is chant purely. The difficult answer is how to get rid of all the things that get in the way of pure chanting. We did a retreat in Mayapur, and I told the devotees, this is going to be an inverse japa retreat. We're not even going to talk about japa. All we're going to talk about is all the things that get in the way of good japa, like pride, envy, jealousy, dishonesty, and so forth. So we dealt with all those things, because unless you clear those out, you can't practice humility, and if you don't chant humbly, you'll never chant purely, and if you don't chant purely, then guess what? You get to take birth again. You get another body, and then do it again. So the goal is pure chanting, and so you have to live purely to chant purely. And the sad news is we can't chant purely unless we're humble. And I know it's not easy to be humble, and sometimes we don't even want to be humble because we don't like being humble, because we think if I'm humble, somebody's going to take advantage of me, or this Prabhu is going to get in line in front of me and get all the Bhakuras before me. So being humble is not practical. We think stupid ways like this. It sounds funny, but we actually think like this. But the fact is, unless we deflate our false egos, unless we overcome our envy and jealousy, we can't chant the pure name. We try. Every day we try to chant. But trying, is good. But we have to try a little harder to remove the anarthas. If I'm hateful, resentful, proud, controlling, demanding, and I'm trying to chant Hare Krishna. Yes, we'll get purified slowly, slowly. But if we work on removing those anarthas, it's much faster. Because until those anarthas are removed, we can't become pure. Now someone would say, well, yeah, but you just chant, it'll remove those. Yeah, but if you chant impurely, how does it, it's like it's a conundrum. I chant impurely, how do I remove you have to actually, work on it also, removing that. Chant in a humble state of mind. So, the goal is Shuddha Nam, pure chanting. That's, pure chanting. The goal is not chanting. That's not the goal. A lot of us think the goal is chanting. Just chant. That's not the goal. The goal is chanting purely. Just chanting doesn't help that much. Purely chanting is what helps, right? You know, you can do some yoga asana your whole life the wrong way, and you didn't get the benefit. You never breathed doing it. You're supposed to have your back straight, and your back was like this, and you know, so you do it, and no benefit. So the point is not just do the yoga asana every day. You have to do it right. So that's the idea. So the answer to all the how-to questions are chant purely. And remove all the things that get in the way of pure chanting. Okay, I have something to say. You won't be happy to hear it, but it's true. One of the barometers of our spiritual advancement is how envious we are of others. Because envy is the entangling, envy is the calling card into the material world. And so if we still hold on to envy, we still have the card. We still are officially citizens of this world. I don't say calling card, that was your visa, your entry visa to the material world. And as long as you have envy, your visa is still valid. And as long as you have that visa, you can't go back. So envy is a good barometer. If I see this devotee is outdoing me, does that upset me? That's a good barometer of how Krishna conscious we are or we are not. Pride, what do you want people to think about you? How do you want to impress people? When you show up, what do you want them to believe about you? I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm Krishna conscious. Look at my tilak. I'm going to spend 3 hours putting my tilak, so when people see me in the temple, they're going to think, oh my God, she must be a pure devotee. Look at that tilak. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating, but there is truth to that. Yes? There is truth to these things. So, pride. I want to impress people. I want to control situations. We have to become free from these things to chant purely. Of course, chanting will help us. But we have to work on these things also. We have to be aware of these things. So when we chant purely, then everything is good. Shudhanam. Braj Kumar? Braj, oh yeah, that's even better. Okay. Braj Prema.
Thank you so much for a brilliant class. I'm just thinking about this topic of separation. And then Radhanath Swami tells us, if you're suffering, just think of the suffering of Radharani, and your suffering is almost infinitesimal. And then the follow-up to that is, if you say that to someone over and over again, then they say, well, you're being negligent because you're not. So what do you do in that?
You're being negligent because?
Because you're just saying, oh, just think of Radharani. So how do you address that follow-up?
You're separate, you mean, you were asking how do you deal with feeling separation from being Krishna conscious, or separation from Krishna? Your own separation?
Or the other person, because so many times you say, oh, just think of Radharani because her suffering is so much greater. And then they come back and say, well, you're being negligent because you're not addressing my requirements.
Oh, you're not being empathetic. Yeah. And their problem is they're feeling separation from Pakoras or separation from Krishna?
Yeah.
Which one?
From Pakoras.
Oh, yeah. Which is not entirely bad, because it's prasadam. So it has... yeah. Well, the real problem is, that's the real problem, that we're feeling separation from sense gratification. If sense gratification were the panacea, then you can just give that person sense gratification and they would be fine, right? But it's not. And I mean, the reality is sometimes we have to feel bad about our material condition. So if I'm feeling separation from sense gratification, I actually should feel bad that I'm feeling that way, because that can serve as an impetus to move further in Krishna consciousness. So there is the transcendental lamentation. So I would encourage that person to utilize that lamentation in a positive way. If you're lamenting, that's good. Lament your condition, that you're lamenting that. We should lament that we're lamenting that we don't have pakoras. And then use that form of lamentation to propel us towards Krishna. We're supposed to lament. Our separation is that I don't have Krishna consciousness, and we lament about that. And that lamentation should inspire us. Oh, I wish I had it. I wish I had more. That's how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to, okay, you can think of Radharani and think, maybe someday I can have that separation. That's my highest aspiration. So, there's this prayer in the Nectar Devotion, just like a boy is attracted to a young girl, I pray that, my attraction to Krishna can be that way. So just like we can feel that, just like I'm attracted to Pakora, maybe someday I'll be attracted to the holy name in the same way, or I can't stop chanting. And so now I'm lamenting because I don't feel that way. But I can use that lamentation to hanker. Hankering is a part of the process. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kabe Habe Bolo Se Dinamar. When will that day come? When I have a taste, when will that day come? I'm running on the banks of the Ganga, chanting Gauranga, half mad, in ecstasy of love. That's what we're supposed to be thinking. And we're thinking, when will that day come when the stock prices go up, and I recoup my investments, and I can retire and live at the beach, and that's the problem, right? So if we feel that way, then we should lament that I'm thinking that way, instead of thinking, when will that day come when I can be chanting japa on the banks of the Ganga, crying and falling and fainting. That's how we're supposed to think. That kind of separation is relevant to our position. So that's the idea. We can't really feel, when will I feel Radharani separation? Never. That's way out of our league. But at least we can hanker for something, on the next floor, right? Sometimes I joke with the devotees, is our prayer, for some devotees, our prayer is, when will that day come when I chant japa and my eyelids stay open? That's like next level prayer. I mean, it's unfortunate reality, but it's isn't it? When will that day come when my head doesn't nod during japa? When I don't turn my phone on during japa? That's our unfortunate condition. But seriously speaking, we're supposed to be hankering. When Krishna, when will that day come? When I chant japa and I cry, when I feel something for the holy name. We're reading this story. It was so interesting. We're reading this story. And Rupa Goswami recites this verse. I don't know how much nectar the two syllables of Krishna have produced. Right? And when Haridas Thakur heard that verse, he got up and started dancing. Now, we've heard that verse. We've all heard that verse. When I would like millions, thousands of ears to hear. I'd like thousands of tongues. There's so much nectar. We've heard that verse, and we're all like, okay, yeah. You like that verse? Yeah, okay. Not bad. There's so many verses. Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah. And Thakur Haridas, he gets up and starts dancing. Why? Because he became ecstatic hearing that verse. So when you read these stories, and you realize, I never got up and started dancing hearing any verse in Bhagavatam, CC, or anywhere. And Haridas Thakur is getting up and dancing. Other devotees, they're swooning in ecstasy. What a verse. My head is spinning. There's one verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that said, unless poetry causes your head to spin, it's not good poetry. In other words, unless you become ecstatic by hearing it, it was not considered, rasic poetry. And so when we hear these stories, then we can think, when that day will come, when I hear a shloka and I faint or I dance or I become overwhelmed with some emotion, other than the emotion of, okay, That was all right, yeah. Can you read the next one? Isn't it? Yeah. By the way, Prabhu, what time's breakfast? That's our condition, unfortunately. Of course, I'm just exaggerating, but to make the point. But as you advance, then you'll read that verse and go, wow, what a beautiful verse. I love that verse. You'll write it down. You'll chant it. It'll affect you a little bit, Say, when? And then you'll be thinking, when? When's that going to happen to me when I'm chanting? When I finish my 16 rounds, I think, oh, let's do another 16. I'm at 32. Let's do another 16. I'm at 64. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. It's 12 o'clock. Maybe I should eat breakfast now. When will that day come when I feel something for the holy name? That's what we want, So now we're feeling separation. We're feeling separation from rasa, from taste. So we can pray to Krishna, please, I'm feeling separation. When will that day come when I have some attraction? Because we're so attracted to this world. And if we are attracted to this world, you know what happens? You know where you go? You go to the place you're attracted to. So if you're attracted to this world, then you get to come back here. If you're attracted to the spiritual world, you get to go there. So, Prabhupada wants us to go there. That's why he came. He came to get us out of here. We've been here way too long. He came to get us out of here. We're all thinking, oh, but just give me 10 more years so I can achieve A, B, and C. But Prabhupada said, you achieved A, B, and C in millions of lifetimes. It's not the first time you've achieved A, B, C. This is chewing the chewed multiple times. So Prabhupada would always say, just stop chewing the chewed in this life and just get out. Pack your bags, do your business, go to the airport, go back to Vaikuntha, get out. Don't stop on the way to the airport to do this and that. That's what so many lectures Prabhupada gave us. That was the mood. Get out. Finish your business, get out. Don't hang around. You've been here too long. So I have a new joke going on. When you go to a hotel, you give it a rating, 5 stars, or products, but hotel is a better example. So you go to a hotel. So let's say the material world is the hotel you're staying in. What rating do you give it? Oh, very good. I'd come back here. I'd give it 5 stars. No. You should give it no stars. Right? What's your rating of the material world? No stars. Don't come back. Don't ever come back here. This is the worst place ever. Why didn't you like the hotel? Because when you go there, you get old. And you get disease. What crazy hotel is that? As soon as I walked in the room, I started getting old. And I got sick. And then Yamaraj came and killed me. I don't like that hotel. I give it no stars. Don't ever go to that hotel. So if you're going to give the material world hotel any stars, guess what? You get to come back to that hotel. So what's your review of the material world? How many stars do you give it? Yeah, and so the reality is some of us are giving it a few stars. Yes? So you give it a few stars, then you're going to be back in that hotel. And the Bhagavatam gives no stars. Bhagavad Gita gives no stars. Yes? So, just in a quiet moment, contemplate how many stars you're giving to this hotel. Because if you even give a half a star, you'll come back for another life. And maybe in that life, you'll get the message clear, and then in that life, you'll give no stars. But why waste another life? Just give no stars in this life. Hare Krishna. So we should end because we have to start in an hour, right? Is that true? So we have to take breakfast and go. So this was a good introduction to the japa workshop. So now we're in the mood of Shuddhanam. The goal is Shuddhanam. And if you chant Shuddhanam, all these things just happen naturally. You don't have to worry. So thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. And we'll hopefully see all of you at 10 o'clock at Crow's Nest. What a strange name. We have to change it to Paramhansa Lake. Tell them to change it to Swan Lake. Say, we don't like the name Crow's Nest. Can you change it to Swan Lake? Okay, so we're going to have the Japa workshop at 10 o'clock at Swan's Lake, formerly known as Crow's Nest. Because devotees are like swans, not crows. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
His Grace Mahatma Prabhu ki